I am very happy to welcome Sabine Kawaji for the
you.
film Al-Tisal, or The Call in English, at the Canadian Independent Film Festival. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I'm very happy to be speaking with you as I am Lebanese myself and you're a Lebanese Canadian filmmaker. So let's start to talk about your bicultural background.
Yeah.
How would that affect your art in general?
Yeah, I think my culture, like just being Lebanese and how I grew up, it impacts every part of my life. And then when I got into film, I just saw there weren't many Lebanese films in at least the Canadian market, which makes a difference when you're Lebanese and you grow up and you don't see that representation. So then my culture kind of dwelled into my work because I wanted more of that and I wanted our stories to be, at the forefront here. So, yeah.
I think that's natural when we grow up in two different environments. We feel we want to join them together somehow, and you find your way to do that through film. So, what drew you initially towards cinema or towards films in general?
I was accidentally put into a media arts class when I was 13, like really, really by accident. And then the first day of class, it was teaching you, script to screen. So you read a screenplay, you see it on screen, and I just fell in love with it. And I thought it had to be a hobby, initially. And then when I was 19, I was like, no, I'm making it a career. Yeah.
And this is your first short film, your debut short film. And it is self-funded. Oh, that's a big shot, right?
Yeah,
so tell me more about the production process, finding funds or self-funding Lebanese Canadian story. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we, unfortunately weren't able to get support from grants. We were rejected for a couple years. And so after, the fourth year of rejection, we were like, okay, we have to do it independently ourselves. So we did a mix of donations, we reached out to different companies, seeing if anyone would be interested in helping out of pocket. And so we, just did it independently like that. And also, like on set, we saved with, for instance, my mom did the food on set. The decor is my dad's, the aunt's voice is my hamto. So we used like a lot of our internal networks and stuff to make it happen. Yeah.
That's beautiful when this happens because it keeps the story genuine. It doesn't get affected by any external funds, any external policies or whatsoever. Your story basically tackles mental health of immigrants. It tells the story of a person who's living in Canada and whose family is in Lebanon when the August 4 explosion happens. Mental health, that's a very good topic it's a heavy topic for immigrants. May I ask, did you grow up in such environment where mental health was like really affecting it, or like people like that? What inspired you? Like, this is exactly my question.
I grew up in a big family. We're 5 siblings, 5 kids in the house. And, you go through a lot of grief. You go through a lot of things that happen as time passes. And I think just within how I grew up, like mental health was not talked about. And I kind of learned that as I got older through school, through just being, outside and stuff. So I think that I'm so sorry, I forgot the question.
What inspired you into talking about mental health?
So I've had mental health struggles myself because of just stuff from, my life and whatnot. And I've been in therapy for 5 years. So I saw the importance and what therapy does. It's very impactful. And so just seeing, especially when the 2020, like when the explosion happened, seeing the impact it had on everyone's mental health, and not really having ways that we can all express it really made me draw towards that of like, no, we need to show why this is important to talk about. Otherwise, we're building up all these emotions and then we're going to explode and it's just not healthy. So, yeah.
Well, sometimes heavy stories for us that are heavy on us, sometimes different audience cannot really relate to the story itself, but they can relate to the feeling of the story. And I do know that your film is now in its tour in the festival, so this is not your first screening with audience.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the different audience you projected your film to, and also did you get any surprise in this sense with audiences? I'd like to hear more.
Yeah, so when we screened in LA, that was there was really no like Arab in the crowd. It was just it was a mix, but I don't think there was anyone Lebanese aside from us. And people were in tears. People came up to us after and they're like, we can't understand the language, but we feel the emotion and we can relate to it no matter what. One woman was saying like how universal it is because she's like, I'm not Lebanese, but I have family back home in my country and I know what that feels like to be far. So another interesting reaction, there's like a line in the film that people actually laughed at in one of the things, but in a good way. Like it was when Noor, one of the characters, was just talking about her as a woman and how she has to be in the house and stuff, and we got a little laugh. So that was an interesting reaction. I've never had that, but I think everyone so far is related to it, if not because of the immigrant side, even just the sibling dynamic. People related to, yeah.
Well, I feel so much connected to your film, considering that I'm Lebanese. So I'm very happy to have this conversation. Not only your film and story are Lebanese, basically. Also, some of your crew members and 3 of your casts, and the others were Canadians. So how did you make a Canadian crew understand a Lebanese story? Because, you know, we sit with the crew, we do table reads sometimes, we talk about cinema language and all of that. How did you approach this?
So the script was written in English initially. So we sent it out to crew, English-speaking crew, and just from reading it then, they were just really hooked on it, and they're like, this is something we want to invest in and we want to help out with. Also a lot of them are kids of immigrants, a lot of the crew too, so they could just relate to the story and wanted to take part. And then when we translated it to Arabic, like even on set, they couldn't understand, of course, what they were saying when we'd roll, but so many of them were getting emotional. One guy, he's Canadian, he was like, I'm gonna call my mom after this. Like he was that, impacted. And so it was, to get them all to understand, I think it's just at its core very universal, so everyone related to it in different ways. Yeah.
I do believe that sometimes very personal or local problem can be universal because it actually tackles the feeling of the audience, and that's very, very important. You said you're drawn, like I heard you saying in the Q&A, that you're drawn towards TV. So what's your next move? Are you gonna be still working in cinema, or you're gonna go into television? Like, tell me what's your future is gonna be like.
The future is looking like television and features. Right now, like the television series I'm developing, it's called The 20s. So that's, we're trying to get that rolling. And then I have a feature doc. So I think I'm going to veer away from short films now and really just get into features and television. And all the stories also tend to just relate to immigrant experiences, which is nice in just different ways. So
I was about to ask you this, if this is going to be a remaining or like a topic that is recurring in your work. I do believe that perhaps because of your background, like this will show up somewhere, somehow, no matter what. That's very interesting. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sharing your film. It's very emotional. And I hope you have a good time at the Canadian Independent Film Festival. Sabine Kawaji for the film The Call, or Al-Tisal in Arabic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.